broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Man, I love this song right here.
Yay!
Welcome to Minority Report After Show right here on the AfterBuzz Network, or we can call it Black Hollywood Live today. Since you got two black hosts today, but no, we got the AfterBuzz TV. Follow us. We're streaming right now on AfterBuzzTV.com, and today, for the first time ever in life, I don't know what happened, I'm hosting the show. Can you believe it, Howard?
I can't believe it.
I used to be where you're sitting. I got bumped all the way up to number one. Apparently, Nino and Katie eloped. So Nino and Katie, they eloped, and they left the two black guys here for AfterBuzz TV. So thank you so much. Oh man, wow, what a show! What a show, right?
What a show! It was pretty good.
We can kill it.
Really good.
Yeah. So okay, so we're gonna start. So the show basically, it was all over the place today. So y'all gonna have to bear with us out there, because if you watched it at home, it was a great episode, and every cliffhanger and every scene would just played a part to the final ending of the show. So basically, the show starts off with Dash Shield. It wasn't Dash. They gave his real name, Dash Shield. He in a milk bath in the precog, right?
Right.
Going through his rehab, and they show them learn how to walk and understanding them. So basically, the concept was that the government wanted to just let them go into the world and erase their identity and give them a large amount of money, and let them figure it out on their own. They didn't want to know where they were leaving. So what's up with that?
I know, that was something else. I mean, I don't know if I liked the whole flashback in the beginning, but I guess it did kind of tell a story. But as we saw, they were just trying to get everybody out in the flashback, like, okay, shut it down, live a normal life, do you. But I could have done without that, but whatever.
Well, what got me was, it's like these three people made you so much money. Yeah. They saved so many lives. They alerted you to so much danger. And for you guys just to throw them out in the world without, any schooling or knowledge of what to be prepared for was devastating. So, and you'll end up seeing why later on in the show. So forward to 2064, Vega and Dash are somewhere, and Dash gets his first vision of a stabbing happening.
Yeah.
So he gets his vision, and he's telling Vega, we have 1 minute, 2 minutes, and by the time they get there for the first time in the show, they missed the murder, and the murder had already happened.
Oh, I know.
And they found the person dead on the ground, and
I know. So they found him on the ground, and they're like, what's going on? They thought they would be there on time, but apparently ads don't work. Ads, like the little ads on your bus stops, they have little times, but the times aren't correct.
Yeah, the times are like 2 minutes fast or something like that. So they actually got there like 60 seconds too late to stop the murder.
Way too late. And then they think the paramedics are there, but little do we know, when we saw the guy on the phone, he said, we got the body.
We got the body. Now, we'll get to that in a second. So now Dash is heartbroken. He's working with Vega, and he failed. He fails. So what does he do? He goes to his brother. So then he goes to his brother, who's happened to be talking about some red diamonds and sitting with a Korean woman at a lunch table, and Dash asks him, what do you know? What can you tell me? And Arthur says, I know something, but just stay away from it, Dash. Let me handle it. But Dash is stubborn.
Very stubborn.
And ignores his brother. So his brother gives him a card, writes something on the back of it, says his masseuse. Dash puts it in his suit jacket and goes away. Now Dash is still hurting, and he's sad, and he just can't believe it. And Vega's saying, listen, wait till tomorrow morning, we'll figure it out. So the next morning happens, and Vega is calling down to the coroner's office.
I know.
And there's no body.
Nothing at all. She calls him down and he's like, what are you talking about? We didn't get a call from the paramedics.
There's no body.
There's nothing here. They're like, what? There has to be something.
So now that will start me and Howard looking at each other like, what's going on?
I know.
So then Dash goes and does his own research and finds an address to the guy in the vision whose name happened to be Armour Nella. So he finds Armory Nella and he goes to the house and he knocks on the door and he says, "This Nella residence." And this lady says, "Who are you?" He shows him his police ID. She welcomes it in. So Dash is still heartbroken about the murder and he says, "I'm so sorry for your loss." And then the lady says, "What are you talking about?"
Yep.
So Miss Nellis has no clue of what's going on. So then all of a sudden Dash looks at the wall and he sees pictures of two guys together, meaning that Armory may have been liking guys. Or that's what I took from it, So he's looking like, what's going on here? And she says to him, "You've come to this house at the wrong time."
I know. I was like, I could not believe that, but I don't understand why Dash hasn't learned yet, like, not to go places by himself. Vega always says, take me, take somebody, take cameras, and he keeps doing it. Like, this is why he shouldn't, because things like that.
Yeah,
he got the girl.
Definitely the naive one.
Yeah,
and I think that he's just. Sometimes I feel he feels like he's Superman, that he can just save the world. With his thoughts.
He does feel like that,
and that goes back to them not teaching him so much about the emotional side of the precog, because when they were saving lives in precog, they really didn't have to deal with the emotion. Now he's like face to face with the murder, and he's actually helping prevent murders with Vega, so he probably feels good about it. So when he couldn't stop it, he's like, wait a minute, something's going on.
Yeah.
So Vega finds out that the body was never turned in the corner. Dash goes to the house, and the lady invites him in, and then she puts a device on his hand.
Yeah, I wonder what that was. Like some type of drug thing.
It was like a Spider-Man type of device. Well, anyway, he passes out. So then that's what happens, okay? So then that's what happened. So then I'm going to do this pre-crime thing separately.
Okay.
Because it makes sense because we'd be all over the place with that.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Vega can't find Dash, so she checked his search history. She's calling everybody, where's Dash? And she finds the address. She went to the address and she's seen the technology in the future was crazy.
I'm saying.
I mean, she was pulling out dust and lights. And
that was something else. I was like, wow, I cannot wait for the future. Like, I'm getting low-key excited if we're going to have gadgets like that.
If you think CSI is doing something now, in 2064, which is, 50 years away, basically?
Pretty much.
I'll be like 80, so I could still be alive, but I won't be doing the murders. But if you're thinking about doing murders now, or if you're raising kids, it's not going to happen because of technology. So anyway, she sees something on the floor. She runs this device. She pulls it out of her pocket. She scans it, puts some smoke in the air. She takes it back to the lab, and she realized that it's Dash's blood.
I know.
And that's when everybody's like, whoa, it's Dash's blood on the ground. So she freaks out. So who's the first thing she calls? She calls Arthur. Arthur says, let's meet up right now. What do you think about Arthur this episode? It was a lot of focus on him.
Arthur was a little bit too much. He was very, very like... I don't know if I want to say overprotective. It was just kind of too businessman type of thing. Like, I think Arthur finally realized, like, everything's not about business.
Right.
You have to really, like, take in consideration your family. And he didn't realize that until Dash was in the hot seat. You know?
And that's when you really saw a personal side to Dash. To Arthur, where he was like, hey, listen, wait a minute, this is my brother. And, because Vega was... She punched him.
Yeah.
She punches Dash. She punches Arthur on sight when they see each other for him withholding information.
Right.
So Dash wakes up in a warehouse with two kidnappers, which happens to be a guy named Malise Aziz and Cleo. And Cleo, who was the lady who played Miss Nellis. So
right.
They're in the warehouse. And in walks this... He's known a British guy, but he had a British type of swag and ambiance about him. Big, dark, looked like Howard.
You tried it.
He actually looked like Howard.
Whatever.
And his name was Luca Van Zant. And Luca Van Zant is a undercrime boss lord who just runs it all. And Arthur knows all about it. So he walks up to Arthur and he says, "Where's my money?" And Arthur's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Why would you be going? Well, I know I went to bed with $50 million and I woke up and the $50 million wasn't there. And Dash is repeatedly telling him, I don't know anything. And then he spooks Dash by pulling out a card and said, but you know Arthur.
I know.
And Dash's face was like, he's my brother.
I don't know why Dash even said that. Like, if I was in that moment, I kind of would have kept my mouth shut.
I met that guy on the subway and he gave me a card if I ever need to get my identity switched.
Like, the first thing I wouldn't have said, he's my brother, but
like,
okay. I guess, he had to give him a little something to go off of.
That could have got you a bullet right there. In the hood, you say that's somebody related and they looking for him. Well, we'll find out more what they did to Dash later on. So, Dash wakes up. Dash recognizes them. Money is missing. Arthur knows something, but he's not telling everybody yet because they found his card. Luca Van Zant, $50 million. So Arthur calls Vega and says, listen, I need to show you something. Dash spoke to the kidnapper by telling her. So one of the kidnapper who happened to play Miss Nellis, Dash is witnessing. He's asking her personal questions about her so he can dig in her mind. So he asks her about her husband, and the way she spoke it, he can tell that there was something wrong with it. And Dash said, "Did she die?" And she's like, "How did you know?" He's like, "Well, the way you said it in your voice." So now Dash is starting to play different murders, and he's getting more information to dig that maybe he may know something about the story.
See, that's what I don't understand either. Dash, and I guess he's still trying to get like better at peopling, like trying to start a conversation, because why would he just, oh, your husband, oh, this, that, and the third, like, really? But go ahead, Dash. Okay.
Yeah, but you know what I'm realizing, they're just not witnessing murder. They're like really mind readers. Like, they're going a lot deeper than just, oh, I feel I got a visual for a murder.
Yeah.
Like, they're predicting locks on the door, and each week their memory and their mind is going deeper into the past to really figure out things.
It's really expanding their mind.
So Arthur took money. So what comes to find out, what Arthur admits to Vega is that he took the $50 million.
Yeah. And
she socked him like, what? You got your brother kidnapped. You took the money. You know more than you want. He's like, well, I tried to tell Dash to stay away, but Dash tried to be Superman, and now he's in this warehouse with these people. Okay. So Arthur goes to his warehouse, like, I can get my brother back. I can go save my brother. He meets with Van Zant. Van Zant says, listen, only way you're going to get your brother back is if I get my $50 million. So Dash goes out to the back of the warehouse and he meets with Aziz again.
Right.
And Aziz gives Dash a little present. And I'll let you say what it was, because this was very disturbing. This is one of the most parts of the show where I couldn't believe.
He gives him the finger. Dash's finger.
And not a finger, not the middle finger.
Oh my.
He actually chopped off Dash's finger and put it in the box and gave it to his brother. And Arthur got the emotion, just ran through him, and adrenaline. He just threw the guy Aziz on the wall, and and he fell back because Vega was like, listen, I got to get Blake in there. She kept telling Arthur the whole show, I got to get Blake. So anyway, so Dash now doesn't have a finger.
I know. And then I don't understand how Malik was able to realize the bird was really an undercover, like, cop type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how did he know that bird was really a camera?
Right.
Like, that kind of tripped me off a little bit. Like, how would he know that? But whatever. I guess he was about that life. He probably knew.
Yeah. So he shoots. He gives him a finger, a cut finger,
a
cut off finger. He shoots the camera that shuts down Wally, Cleo, and Vega from doing surveillance. So that's what happened. So what happens? So Arthur meets with Van Zant. Okay, so then after all that happened, they go back and Vega says, "You gotta let me step in. I gotta bring Blake into the picture because Blake can help." And he's like, "Well, you know what? You go get your police besties." And that's what happened. So Dash is in the warehouse convincing this lady, Cleo, about he knows why her husband was murdered. And he tells her the guy who murdered her husband happens to be her now boyfriend because they all lived in one loft together.
Right.
So Dash is really getting in her brain. And Dash, he keeps his picture book of these murders.
Right.
And she kept mentioning that her husband loved to draw roller coasters and situations like that. Mm-hmm. So Dash shows her what's in his book, and she just cries, and she totally believes the fact that he knows more about the murder. That was spooky.
Yeah, that was really spooky. I was a little shocked by that. I was like, wow, how was she able to get the book? And then, he was tied up, so of course she was able to get it, but that was a little spooky.
Right. So, when Aziz comes back in after meeting Arthur or whatever, she walks up to him with the gun and says, "You lied to me." He's like, "What's going on? What's going on?" He's like, "You lied to me. You killed him." He's like, "What are you talking about?" And she goes through the whole story. And so then Dash is laying down, and his wrist goes off knowing that it's about to be a murder. Yeah. So he warns Aziz, like, "Look, dude, there's nothing you can do because you about to die."
I know.
So Dash this is where I like part about Dash, where he finally uses his senses to say, "Listen, if I can sense it, maybe my brother and my sister can sense it." Mm-hmm. So he gives them names of the two kidnappers. So when he gives the names of the two kidnappers, Arthur picks it up. Mm-hmm. He goes back and tells Vega the name. They do the background check and find out that Cleo family owned a warehouse. Yeah. That was very smart.
That was really smart.
That was brilliant how they did that.
Yeah.
But then it also goes to show how they expand their memory, how they can do more.
Yeah.
And to solve these murders. So they run the background check. Cleo, find out she has a warehouse, and within the next very scene, they bust in there. And this is the first time we see Blake in the episode.
Yeah.
So we see Blake in the episode, and they walk in there. They save Dash, and then they end up putting his finger back on. They was actually able in 26-4. If you lose a limb, they can do it now, but it was in it was like red rum. It was like back under there.
It was like some type of different plastic surgery. They were able to like kind of sew it back on. Yeah. It was very weird, but very cool at the same time.
Yeah. So Dash gets his finger back, and so then they're done. So that's how that ended. They So then now Dash. So now the Van Zant guy still wants his $50 million. Mm-hmm. So Arthur goes to meet with Van Zant, and they're sitting down there, and Van Zant offers him a drink, and Van Zant says, "Hey, listen, I know you want your brother, but I need my money." And Arthur says, "Well, you know what? I respect you. Mm-hmm. I've always liked you, but you know what? This one Arthur got real. It was like you got greedy, you got cocky, and you let it all go to your head." And this is when I start to see, okay, this is getting ready to make a turn for the worse for Van Zant.
Yeah.
And now it goes back to the point when earlier in the show when Arthur was sitting down with the Korean woman, and he was talking about the red diamonds. Mm-hmm. And Arthur tells Van Zant, he's like, "You know why I'm not going to give you back your money? Because it was never yours to begin with. You embezzled it from some of my friends on the Far East, and I took it, and I'm going to get it back to them." And that's where he did with the red diamonds. So he took the $50 million and put it into the red diamonds, and the stocks are running high. And as Arthur was saying this, the room was filled with the mafia from that country.
Right.
And Van Zant says, "Well, you're going to die too." He's like, "Not today. I may die, but it's not going to be today."
I know.
And
he just felt like Van Zant just felt like he was the king. Yeah. He pretty much is the king of that whole town. They said he was the top at the food chain. Mm-hmm. He had all these people working for him. Yep. So he just felt like nobody could touch him. Yep. Nobody could do him wrong. He just wanted his money so he can keep going. But little did he know, Arthur had something up his sleeve.
Arthur had something up in his sleeve, and he set him up. He switched the whole deal around to the point where he was able to walk out alive. And I'm sure they didn't show the killing on TV, but I'm sure that was the end of Van Zant's life. So now Arthur doesn't have to get the money back. He's not going to get killed. Mm-hmm. Dash was saved by Blake and Vega and got his finger back on.
Yep.
And right now, before we go to the other part B of the story, it's time for a live read. Woo! Now here at the AfterBuzz Network, we have plenty affiliate networks such as the Popcorn Talk. And another network I'm on is Black Hollywood Live for all things African American, baby. It's the first online broadcast news network focused on African American talent and influencers. The roster includes 12 shows focusing on sports, fashion, entertainment, comedy, politics, legal issues, music, and technology, just to name a few. You need to check out BlackHollywoodLive.com and catch shows on YouTube and iTunes. Now, I love Black Hollywood. I love AfterBuzz. I love everybody over here because one thing about it, the network and the way Maria and Kevin have built it, we're always able to get A-list celebrities. And some of the celebrities that's been on have been Jamie Foxx, my Woman Crush Wednesday every week, Taraji P. One day I hope I get to just, take you out and show you that Lucius wasn't right for you. And also, my brother from another, Nick Cannon, all right? So make sure you follow Black Hollywood Live at BHL online, and you can catch me every Friday on The Beat with my homie Jesse J, Poppy Watts, and Queen Wink, 1 p.m. on Black Hollywood Live. We talk about the whole entertainment from music, sports, from music to fashion to television. So that's Black Hollywood Live. Check it out.
Yay. And check out my friend on there, Megan Thomas. She does the Black Hollywood Live Next.
Okay.
She's
the host?
Yeah.
She is good.
She's so good. Check her out, too.
I never met her in person, but I watch you. You're great, Megan. So that's Black Hollywood Live. Check it out. Okay, so now that we talked about part A of the story, now let's go back to part B, because part B was very, very interesting. And it all came down to, like I said, the show started off with Dash in the milk bath. Yeah. And the government ready to release them to the world without giving them any knowledge of where to go and how to survive. They taught them basic things about how to walk and situations like that, but they didn't teach them survival skills. So they give them a list of places they can go to, and one of the places they wanted to go to was Fiddler's Neck. So after they leave, they go to some bar, and Arthur, being the pretty boy, he walks right into the bar, sees a pretty bartender, and just starts talking to her. Agatha's kind of in the cut, and Dash, what I noticed this show, he's like an in between. He follows a little bit behind Agatha and Arthur. Yeah, he has a little bit of, Could you see that
right
too?
In the middle. Yeah, he really doesn't want to disappoint like anybody. Yes, so he'll try to just split himself like in twos, if he could. Right.
So Dash and Agatha sit down, and Arthur goes right to the bar. He's smiling with the bartender, and he likes her. So then Agatha tells Dash, "I have a plan. I found this town we can go to called Fiddler's Neck." Now we already discovered Fiddler's Neck last week, so this is prior to them going, and so she's like, "Listen, we're gonna stay here tonight, and then we're gonna leave." Right. So as they're planning to go, Arthur was happy he got a smile from this bartender. So now he's kind of feeling it, and he think that she's feeling him, and he wants to go back. So Agatha was like, "No, don't go. Don't get involved. Don't do it." Arthur's like, "I'm leaving." And Dash is like, "I'm going too." And she's like, "Don't go." And he's like, "Sorry, I'm going with my brother." Yeah. So they go to the bar. They're sitting down there having a drink. And, the bartender is, they're having flirtatious conversation. And one of the bartenders in there was like, "Hey, when you finish with them, can you fill my drink up?" And she says, "Hey, listen, it's not your time. You drunk too much. You need to go home." Now, one thing I didn't understand was she was very loud and talking about his personal business.
Yeah, she was.
So she turns back around and starts telling Arthur and Dash, "Well, listen, he just lost his job. And he's on his drugs." Like, what was going on? What would you think?
I didn't like that at all. She was like really loud and just, I don't know what she was thinking, but clearly she was flirting somehow. Right. In her mind, she's thinking this is helping the flirtation going on, but it wasn't.
Now, what was key about this moment was because this is going to be the first time they have their vision after leaving the precog. This is the first vision, and it's kind of weird. And so as they're sitting at the bar, Dash is starting to feel something like, wait a minute, something's about to happen. Yeah. Something's going to go down. And, they only feel murder, so that means that someone's going to die. But who's going to die? And at the time, Arthur wants to protect the girl. So he just tells the guy to like, "Hey, have a beer." So the guy gets up out of his seat, walks over to Arthur. Now Dash's spidey senses are super tingly now. So the guy goes and takes a sip of Arthur's beer. Dash is going crazy. The guy goes to swing at Arthur. Dash pulls his chair. The guy hits another person, and they run out the bar, and they're all happy. Now as they're leaving, Dash's senses start tingling again. Yeah. And so was Arthur's. They're like, wait a minute, somebody's gonna die. So they're starting having visions of the bartender being choked and beat up and killed by the confrontational man they just had with in the bar.
Yeah, that was something else. I don't know how I would feel if I would see the girl that I was interested in just like dying right there in my face. And Arthur really wanted to go and help the girl, but Dash was like, no. And then Agatha came. And
so
it was just terrible. By the time they got to the girl, it was too late.
Yeah, the girl had been killed.
Yeah.
So so this goes back to the story A, when Arthur was telling Dash stay out of it because he know how he felt.
Right.
Because it goes back to their first visual after being released for precog of their first murder that they couldn't save. Because Arthur wanted to save, but Dash was like, it's none of our business. But this when they were fresh. They were not knowing how to use their powers yet. And the girl died, and Agatha said, I told you not to get involved. And it ends with Agatha, Dash, and Arthur driving in the truck. Arthur just looking out the window and just very sad, just couldn't believe what had happened, and them driving to Fiddler's Neck. So great show.
Yeah, it was a pretty good show. I enjoyed it.
It was all over the place, but at the end of it, it all made sense of why they had to blend their stories. They gave us the backstory, how they were released into the world, having their first visual of someone being murdered. Gave you a little bit. Okay, so basically, now to talk about Blake, because he didn't even come in to the end of the show when he took off his mask to save Dash.
I was like, what happened to Blake? Why even? I kind of figured, why even put Blake in there? Like, the show went on for so long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought he would have came in there as a boss, but he came in there as like a SWAT team member.
But I guess it was good they did put him in there because it was kind of like a little surprise,
So
thing.
Blake makes his first appearance to save Dash. Now we go to another scene at the end of the show where Blake is in there talking to the guy, and the guy is really impressed with the Hawkeye.
Right.
Now, when he's impressed,
what is it, DHA or DEA?
I'm not sure. Can you tweet us right now? Let us know what that is.
I think it was
at AfterBuzz TV #Minority Report HTT. Okay, so so the guy is in there asking a lot of questions like, hey, listen, I love Vega. Her murder rate is super high, and we're not just talking about robbers and car thieves. We're talking about high-class super criminals she's discovering.
Yep.
So Blake is playing right along like, hey, yeah, she's great, and the guy walks out saying, hey, listen, you teach them very well. But Blake could sense that it was more to it.
Right.
Which gives us an insight to, as they end the show, to what's going to happen next week.
Yeah. Blake is just very, like, you could tell Blake is jealous of Vega. So when he was saying you teach them very well, Blake took it as like, oh, well, maybe he's going to go after Vega. Because he was asking all questions about Vega.
Yeah.
He didn't really care about Blake too much until he said, oh, you teach him well.
Right.
Kind of a dig,
know? Exactly. So that goes into next week's episode when they're going to run up on Dash like, you're one of them. You're a precog. So next week's episode and after show, you have to come spend it with us right here on AfterBuzz TV, because next week's episode is going to be super explosive as we're getting down to our last few episodes.
Yeah, it is.
So apparently it Minority Report isn't on the chopping block yet, because they're continuously going. So make sure you're here next week for the AfterBuzz show, because I'm sure it's going to be a great show. But right now, it's time for predictions.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Oh, they changed it up this week. What happened to the light show? Yeah, there we go. That's what I like. There we go.
Your AfterBuzz TV.
I like this one better. I know Phil and Roxy are great people. I like this one. Okay, predictions, baby. If you have any predictions out there, tweet us. And I'll mention it next week's show. But so give us some predictions for next week.
So my prediction is that, as we can see in the next week's episode, they find out about the precog.
Okay.
Blake finds out about Dash and what he's been a part of in his past life. So I see them I see Blake really turning on Dash. I think he's not going to be on Dash's side. I don't think he's going to go along with Vega at all. I think he's just going to just say, listen, Vega, we're done. This is over. Shut it down. I know what's going on. I know what happened. And he will be the one to tell the world. Blake is going to be the one to tell the world, because remember, we saw that Agatha saw them in the milk bath.
Yeah.
It's going to be Blake to put them in the milk bath, and it's going to be Vega to save them.
That was a good prediction. That's good. Y'all can't hate on that one. Howard the Third on Twitter. And tweet him and retweet them for a good point. Yeah. Now, there hasn't been a lot of sexual chemistry on the show outside when Dash lost his virginity.
Right.
But today I kind of sensed a little bit with Arthur and Vega. Oh. Even when he asked for a kiss.
Really?
He asked for a kiss and she didn't say no.
I don't see that happening.
I don't know. I just think somehow that's going to play into, I don't know. We'll
okay,
see.
Maybe
I just want to see Megan Good naked. I don't know. Oh. Maybe I want to see something with Megan Good. Because she is one of the main reasons I love the show.
Yeah.
It's a great cast, though, but Megan Good is definitely a hottie. Yeah, I like your point. I mean, I think that when next week's episode, when Blake finds out who he is, it's going to be a lot of unrambling, and they're going to try to get them there and tell on them, because that's why the government, once the government finds out their guys who used to save murders is now working with the police department, it's all going to hit the roof. It's definitely going to hit the roof. But outside of that, let me see what's going on. So Dash go do that. Something between Arthur and Vega. And Agatha was too quiet this show.
Yeah.
She was too quiet. Even though she had her scenes and she made sense. You still think she's the devil?
No, I take it back. I took it back last week. I'm sorry. I don't think Agatha is the devil. I think she's turning a new leaf, you know? I just think she's now I see her as an overprotective sister.
Right. So we'll see what happens. Excited about next week's show.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I won't even be here next week. So I won't even be able to hang out with you to talk about the after show. I have to go out of town for business. But yeah, make sure you go to YouTube and you like and subscribe to the AfterBuzz channel. Follow us on iTunes. Download it. Podcast. AfterBuzz is taking over. Like, we like the new NBC that nobody know about. And Black Hollywood Live, Popcorn Talk. See you next week. Howard, tell them how they can hit you up.
Oh, yes. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Howard the Third. That's Howard3RD. And, of course, my website, howardthethird.com.
Please tweet us. Comment us. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, so we can make it, because we're here for you. Without you, we just be we're broke guys. We're just two broke black guys anyway. Right? But I don't know. It's all good. Kansas City Royals, World Series champs. Go Cavs, State of Ohio. We're out of here. See you next week. AfterBuzz TV, Minority Report, After Show, Cameron Penny _ Follow me on Instagram at Cameron Penny. Shout out to the producer and the engineer of the show. I would shout you out. Forgot your name. Peace.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Like my mother always say,
buzz you later,
alligator.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.